When we look at what happened this Friday past in New Zealand, we can't look at it as one isolated incident that's happened alone. We have to remember that when you go back to Tony Blair and George Bush, they declared a global war on terror. They said that there would be nowhere that this war would not go to fight its aims. This war had a hard side. The bombs that were dropped, the oil that was stolen, democracy delivered by the mother of all bombs. But there was a soft side to this war, the soft power as they like to call it. The soft power that was pushed to dehumanize Muslims day by day, to spread newspaper articles that told you that we're not people, that we don't count. Newspaper articles that were written in buildings like this by men like the racist Rupert Murdoch. We have seen time and time again in the newspapers, on the TV, on the BBC, people like Ayaan Hirsi Ali be given a platform and a soapbox at which that they can spread their words. What has Ayaan Hirsi Ali said? Ayaan Hirsi Ali has called for the military destruction of Islam. She said, Islam, the religion must be defeated. And we are at war with Islam, and there's no middle ground when you are at war. She said we have to crush Islam fundamentally under our boot. These are the words of somebody who appears on a regular basis on Newsnight, who appears on Question Time, who is given a platform to spread these sorts of views and to collect her followers. She is somebody who was quoted by Anders Breivik in his manifesto when he committed his murder in Norway. But lest we say that Rupert Murdoch is from Australia, Ayaan Hirsi Ali is Dutch. Britain's okay, we don't have a problem. William Shawcross, the biographer for the Queen, said this. He said, in regards to Europe and Islam, Islam is one of the greatest, most terrifying problems of our future. I think all European countries must vastly and very quickly deal with the growing Islamic populations. Let that sink in. Islam is the biggest problem facing Europe and their growing populations. The man who committed these murders in Christchurch, in his manifesto, he said the first three things. It's about the birth rates, it's about the birth rates, it's about the birth rates. William Shawcross, the biographer for the Queen, after making these comments, was made the head of the Charities Commission. Don't think that this doesn't sink into our own establishment. Douglas Murray, the head of the Henry Jackson Society, said conditions for Muslims in Europe must be made harder across the board. These people, the Henry Jackson Society, has cross-party support. Amongst its patrons and those that support it come from Labour, from Conservative, from the Liberal Democrats. And yet, the Conservatives say they have no problem with Islamophobia in their party. When Saeed Avasi comes and tells them that it is endemic, they ignore her and bring out Sajid Javed as an example of their lack of racism. The fact of the matter is, these wars have been soft wars. They've been fought in the media and they've gone on and come out again and again in the hard forms as well. We see the history of colonialism in the army. And if you just look to Joe Glenton and his comments recently in his article, he bravely came out as an ex-army officer who refused to be redeployed to Afghanistan. Bravely refused to be redeployed to Afghanistan because he said, I have more in common with the people in Afghanistan than the people sending me to war there. He said that the British Army is fundamentally racist because it is still teaching the history of colonialism as a positive thing. It is still enforcing obedience through armed offensive. We see that just last year, British soldiers, serving British soldiers, were charged for being part and convicted for being part of a neo-Nazi organization. They said in their own words, we were preparing and stockpiling arms to cleanse our land. Cleanse our land of who? of the people I see in front of me here, the people who sung those beautiful nasheeds, the people who have spoken so proudly and bravely here today. That's who they want to cleanse, but we shall not be cleansed. These racists, they hate us because of the names that were read out. The names that came from Palestine, that came from Pakistan, that came from India, that came from all over the globe and stood together and prayed together and stood as brothers, regardless of race. Because in the final sermon of the Prophet ﷺ, he said the white is not better than the black and the black is not better than the white. This is what Islam teaches, unity amongst people. And this is what the racists hate. Time and again, we see that these attacks and murders have kept on going. Islamophobia has become more and more rampant in this society. But we must understand at the core of it, there is no difference between what happened in Christchurch and the 50 people, innocent people murdered in a mosque, and the people at a wedding celebration in Pakistan when a drone drops on them at the orders of the American president. This is all the war on terror. And this drip feed of Islamophobia will lead us into a dark place. And we must stand up and take action for the sake of our children, for the sake of our next generation, that this isn't the country that we leave for them, this isn't the world that we leave for them. Thank you very much. Jazakallah khair.